Can I just call you Abdul?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Hussein. Okay, Abdul, listen. We're not talking about people. Allah says nobody can write anything like the Quran, but Satan's words are in the Quran.
So in today's video, we're going to watch the YouTube channel called Raja Raw, and the question of today is why Christian women don't like Christian men. Now he's going to explain to us what the core reasons are why Christian women aren't going after true Christian men in today's society. Let's get into it.
I get asked it all the time. I get told it all the time. Oh, well, all the women, they want like bad guys. They want, like one guy asked me specifically, oh, why do women want the smoker instead of the Christian guy who's like nice and well put together and goes to church and wears buttons up and dresses like his mom dressed him for school, etc. I always get these type of questions. And here's the thing. I'm going to ask you something. All right, it's going to help you understand why things are the way it is. Let's say there's a girl that is not Christian and a girl that is Christian. Think about the girl that's not Christian. She has big boobs. Do you find that attractive? It's okay. The answer is yes. All right. Now, you could say you wouldn't get with them because they're Christian. That's a great thing. I agree with that. But the point is that we are human beings and we understand and should understand that we find things attractive regardless of the character behind it. You say that's a flaw, and it is a flaw in many ways, but that is how it is. So in the same way, women care about looks. This is not a video about me saying women don't care about looks at all, and looks also play into this as well. But when a woman sees a guy who's kind of an outlaw, kind of bad or whatever, what they see is a man that is a bit of a rebel.
The answer is very easy. It's because, can anybody remember the movie called Rebel Without a Cause by James Dean? It's a classic. I'll use that as an example because we're talking about an archetype. People in society, whether it's a Christian-based society or not, they kind of, well, women especially, they kind of go to whatever goes beyond the borders of structure and predictability. That's what it's about. If you're a predictable guy, then it's too easy. You're always going to be there. It's too easy. They don't have to do anything, but you're easy to control and very predictable. But if you go after a guy, like in a movie, for example, James Dean, it's very unpredictable. It's very tempting. It's very exciting. They can't be controlled, and being able to try or experience trying, that is what gives them this high. And that's why they go after the non-Christian guy and after the rebel that doesn't believe, like in this scenario. And the movie kind of reflects that as well. It's what you can get is already there, but what you can't get, that is the true challenge, and that's what they truly desire, because it also gives them this false sense of this type of aggression can be productive in certain circumstances. And because this guy is untamable, I can use him as for example, a guard dog. I mean, these are all metaphors, but that's what's behind it. It's more a psychological thing that is linked to, biology as well. But of course, it goes beyond having faith or whatever you believe in. It strays away from that completely. So that is the point.
They like the fatherly energy, but also kind of like the rebel energy. Because think about it. When you think of what women want in their human nature, because if you ask them, they'll go like, oh, well, I want a guy that's like nice and like goes to church and does this and does that. But, it's kind of like when we say, oh, well, we don't care about looks, we care about personality. Yeah, the hell you do, bro. You don't. All right. You care about personality, but you don't care about it more than looks.
That's not completely true. That's also kind of stereotyping and generalizing concerning, gender stereotypes. I would personally say that you're not less of a masculine individual, whether you're a Christian or not in this scenario, if you go after personality, if you invest more into the personality aspect of attractiveness within a relationship. Now, I can testify because if I reflect and look back on all the relationships that I have been into, then literally the majority, if not all, were based on the personality. Because looks do matter if you want to find someone attractive to be into someone, that's true, and be intimate with someone, but that is not the undermining factor why you would want to be with that person. So that means that for me, in my example that I'm giving here, I prefer to be with a woman that I matched with on all levels, emotionally, mentally, intellectually, and personality wise and interest wise. So yeah, that physical became a part of it, but at the end, but that was never the first choice why I wanted to be with that person, because all of those women I've been with in the past that I was engaged with, they didn't look like my type, if I would have to describe a type. So non-physical based attraction, personality based attraction. So you can't stereotype, you can't generalize these things, Christian or not, I don't care.
And women are the same way. So when women are thinking about what makes a man attractive, what they're thinking about is a man that can complete them. All right, well, who can fit the male archetype within their mind? And a male archetype within a woman's mind is a man that is independent, who's financially independent, who is strong, who's a little bit fierce, can be nice, etc. And the point is that most Christian men are really nice guys. All right, and I remember when I went to this non-denominational church, and there's been a few other churches I go to, but most Christian men, you know, they're like, how you doing, sport? Like, they're just soy facing all over the place. And here's the thing. Women don't want a guy who's soy facing all the time. Because what? Why? Don't worry. I'm not going to sell you anything. What I will tell you is that if you are liking this video, you will love my Discord. It's because my Discord is an uncensored version of my YouTube content, and I also talk about a bunch of different subjects. You know, this video is probably just about one thing, and there I talk about fitness, and there I talk about geopolitics, and there I talk about philosophy, psychology, anything you can name, history, etc. I talk about it all in the Discord. Uncensored content I cannot put on YouTube. And it would also help you out because you can access me on my Discord. As of right now, you can literally send a message in there, ping me, and I'll respond to help you with whatever you need. That being said, just back to the video. Because they don't look any type of intimidating. They don't look any type of forceful. They don't have any masculine energy. Okay, think about it. Opposites attract. This is all biblical, by the way. The Bible talks about men being a certain way. When Paul was addressing, I believe it was the Corinth church, he said, when he was talking about being strong in faith, he said, oh, well, just be strong in faith like men and women. No, he said, be like men. That's what he said. So even the Bible, even they understood that there's this masculine energy that's attractive, that's forceful. Wrong. Okay? Alright, so you need to understand that women, it doesn't matter how good of a guy you are. Okay, women are always going to want this masculine force. In the same way, you want a woman that is beautiful and has this feminine shape and acts feminine and all nice and bubbly. Unless you want like a dummy mom.
Okay, so the moment he brought his secret weapon out called Paul, that's game over. This is a wrap, you know, just this is it. I should have ended it right there. That's already not a good way to start or go in the direction of using that as a good example if you want to go biblical or you want to go Christian. Sorry about that, but no. Using Paul as an example, that's game over because then you already classify yourself as a quote-unquote Christian. But yeah, talking back about that biology aspect, people in all different religions, whether it's the classical Judaism, the classical Islam, or the classical Christianity, if you're talking about monotheism, even Zoroastrianism, aka Mazdaism, they all feed off traditional gender roles. So yeah, it's normal that when you base your identity within the religion, within the traditional gender roles, that you will also feel the need to be more in that place of femininity or masculinity and look for, of course, the opposite to fulfill and to complete and create a unit. That is very self-explanatory. So you're feeding off religion, where religion bases itself of biology, depending, of course, how you look at it, because, you know, everybody has their opinion. But look, it makes complete sense, right? It's just a normal, natural, organic way of thinking and operating. You just don't make things more complicated. You don't get politics involved. You just live with a basis. You're just a based person, a based Christian, for example, in this situation. And I strongly agree. I do. It's normal if you lean into the direction that's more the opposite, or you become more neutral and be stuck between masculinity and femininity when you're a religious person. That is very confusing for people that are looking for the opposite in that way. And then most likely you're going to be bypassed or sidelined. And then there will be other people that would get that opportunity. That's why, for example, why is it possible, like in the Islamic religion, even if it's not promoted, but it is allowed legally to be a polygamist. That's because men feed off that masculine energy, that hyper masculine energy. Some people call it toxic, some people call it hyper masculine, and that allows them to be able to handle more than one wife. That is an example. It used to be a common theme within the Hebraic world as well, even beyond just for wives, of course. But the point is that masculine dominant energy, that masculine hyper masculinity, that is what decides whether that person can or will be with a woman or with multiple women. That actually answers that question.
Which case, I mean, you might putt from the rough. Okay? And I would say there's no problem with putting from the rough, but there is a problem with putting from the rough. So I have to get that checked out. In any case, the greater point is that you have to understand that being a man that's a little bit, machismo, whatever, that's what I advocate for. There's nothing wrong with that. If anything is biblical, I see a lot of Christian men, when they convert to Christianity, they become like castrated, become all nice and like, hi. Right? There is nothing wrong with being a man. And if anything, there's something wrong with not being a man. Assuming you're a male and you have a penis. Okay, if you're a woman, there is something wrong trying to be a man. But the answer to the question that I get asked all the time, okay, and this is also, I'll go over a bit of my experience as well, but women are having trouble with Christian men because Christian men are just too nice. When it talks to the guy that's secular, he gives off these images of, being like forceful, being a, like big man, and that's what they want. Okay, big, strong man. Not only in looks, but also in attitude. And it doesn't mean you have to be a bad person. Okay, you might confuse what I'm saying and say, oh, you're saying being a bad person? No, I'm not saying being a bad person. What I'm saying is that you could have the same kind of attitude, but it could be oriented towards Jesus. Okay? You think, even Jesus, Jesus whipped people. Okay, in the Gospel of John. You think he was just some, like, nice buttercup? No, he wasn't. Okay? And a bit of my experience with it, and this could be a pitfall of it, so this is something to be wary of. So, in my not so humble opinion, I exude a certain image, okay? And when I was younger, I was kind of like a loser. I wouldn't say I was just a nice guy. I was just a loser. And I'm happy I was a loser because it helped shape me to who I am now. But the point is that when I was a loser, no woman really gave me attention. And when I started dressing a certain way, and I dressed in a very, like, machismo fashion, women started giving me attention. Okay, and one thing I experienced was that some of them they would like me, but they wouldn't be big fans of trying to get, like, committed to me, because I remember one girl, and I know this because my cousin's wife is a youth leader, and she's hip with all the girls, right? So, they would have conversations about me and whatnot, and I've heard a lot about it, but there was this one specific incident that's relevant to this, and it's that there's this one girl, and I say youth, I'm 19, okay? If it don't end in teen, I ain't going in, okay? I like teenagers, but, I'm not 40, okay? But anyways, this a few years ago. So this girl was like, well, he seems like he talks to a bunch of girls. And that is one potential pitfall when you go with this. You can kind of seem like a player, you can seem like you sleep around, whatever, but remember, girls like guys who can sleep around. Girls like guys who could do those things, but they like even more the people who don't, and restrain and have some discipline and self-control.
What I was talking about, basically being too available, being too ready, being too present, being too nice, being too polite, being too predictable. That's what it has to do with.
Sexual control is very attractive to a woman, and beyond that, it's the right thing to do. Don't have premarital sex. You understand that? Bad. In any case, so in that case, kind of understand where you are. Don't play too much into it. Like me, I have to soften up a little bit. Because I already look a certain way, and then if I dress in the machismo way, I gotta act, a bit more friendly, a bit more nice. But if you're just someone who kind of looks like a normie, or, you don't have like a fierce look or anything like that, lean more into machismo, okay? Don't know what machismo is, Google it. I'm not talking about like a wrestler or, super macho man from Punch-Out. I'm talking about this kind of like masculine idea of what a man should be. Lean into that more. And what you realize is that women will like you, and I'm not saying give up your Christianity. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is actually have more zeal for your Christianity. Be more manly about it. Because these same Christian men who are super nice, when you ask them, is homosexuality wrong? And they'll go, well, it's wrong. Okay? Women want a man that could stand up for their ideals. The finger like this, not like this. Women like that. They don't like this. Okay? You don't want to be a man with an erectile dysfunction of your spirit. Okay, you want erectile function. That's what I have, erectile function. Go for that. In any case, that's why Christian men don't like, that's why women don't like Christian men right now, and the solution.
So that was the video. Very interesting. But you can already tell into what direction he's leaning. But there is a point and there is some truth in it. But I do believe it's in general a problem with secular society. I don't really think it's just a Christian thing that Christian men suffer from and need to be resolved. So it's society in general, Western society, Western culture, modern perceptions and secularity. And yeah, there are a lot of things that need fixing, and that part of masculinity needs fixing too. And I strongly believe, whether what part of the Bible you want to focus on, if you want to find certain types of masculine archetypes, you can find them and you can be inspired by them. And it's true. It's nothing to do with succumbing to any type of authority or being weak, but respecting, God and using Christ as an example, and really finding yourself in that place as well. And that is also part of what masculinity is about. That version of masculinity can be found in the biblical texts. That's true. And I think many people kind of want to more lean into what is culturally acceptable from being a Christian within a Christian, whatever Christian denomination, right? But at the same time, they forget the archetypes that are in the Bible that actually should be used as an example if you really want to fulfill that in a biblical sense. So if you like the video, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. Maybe consider becoming a member. Link will be left down in the description. And as usual, I'll be seeing you in the next video. Thank you for watching.